Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back with the fourth and final. I think it's a penultimate, which is a big word for me, but it's the fourth and final part of my Christmas shopping list, most of which are probably pipe dreams, but I thought I'd say them anyway, just to give it my best shot, putting it out to the universe or whatever. If you believe in manifestation, I don't know if I entirely believe in it. If I did believe in a self-fulfilling prophecy and I felt it worked 100%, I'd probably say it's going to work out and it's going to be easy, because I like things to be nice and easy. But yeah, sometimes I have my doubts, and I know people say it only works if you work towards it or things like that. But and many of these dreams are probably left too late. But for this one, I thought I would talk about what an ideal Christmas day would be, or what I hope would have happened by Christmas or by the end of Christmas or whatnot. So let's say I woke up on Boxing Day, obviously that's the 26th, the day after Christmas. I think that's when you're officially supposed to open your presents. I think you're supposed to be given them on Christmas Day and open them on Boxing Day, if I'm not mistaken. But if anyone else knows any different, please let me know, like what Boxing Day means to you, or what the tradition is, or whatever. Not into traditions that much, but it's all a bit of fun anyway. So I think we should get rid of all the rules and all that kind of thing. Just have fun with it. But that's me, I suppose. But yeah, on a slightly more serious note, I suppose. Yeah, so if I woke up hopefully on Tuesday, and I'm not that suicidal or manically depressed or whatever, clinically depressed or whatever. Anyway, sorry. So I will try and be cheery. But I did put for this one, I'm feeling grateful. I was gonna say thankful or whatever, or happy. But I put grateful because for the first three, I put how I was feeling low and I was not very well and stuff like that. But I think, as you can probably tell by my voice, I think it's hopefully getting back to my usual annoying self. But on the note, as ever, I would love to know what you think, and please give my videos a mark or rating or score or whatever you want to call it out of 100. I think that'd be pretty interesting to see what people think. And just generally to know what people think. But yeah, so if on Tuesday, let's say I wake up and I see what's happened, this would probably be the ideal. By the way, I decided to open the caramel one first, which I mentioned in my previous video. I'm not sure if it was I think it was part 2, actually, the one before last. But because that was the only one that got a vote. So anyway, I'm opening this one first, and I'll probably give it a score out of 100. So although I've tried it before, but I've tried these before, so I know they're quite nice. Anyway, so these are ideas number 31 to 40 of how I hope Christmas Day will have turned out, looking back in the future. I hope that makes sense. So don't know if I can talk and eat at the same time. Probably not the wisest move, but so number 31. Hopefully, I'll wake up on Boxing Day and see that AC Milan has got a lot of investment from all possible investors and companies that begin with A. For instance, Apple, Alibaba, Amazon, maybe even Amstrad, and others. Any business or even investor generally that begins with A. Can't think of any countries that begin with A. Maybe even like entire cities like Amsterdam or whatnot. And also Inter being co-owned by companies and investors that begin with I, like InvestCorp, IBM, and that kind of thing. And also, I'd say like Microsoft, because they could have a friendly rivalry with Apple. So that obviously with the Inter Milan and AC Milan rivalry, as a fan of Italian football generally, I just welcome any investment into Italian football. And also Monzo being co-owned by companies that begin with M, like Monzo Bank and companies like that. Are basically getting as many investors and sponsors, partners and whatnot as possible. And also, I almost forgot to say, I'd love for, I know I've mentioned all these ideas before, but hopefully waking up on Boxing Day, hopefully I will have found that Italian football and Celtic have a partnership with FIFA and UEFA within the rules. Obviously not, I wouldn't say encourage like match fixing or corruption or anything like that, or within some sort of rule where they work to promote the beautiful game in Italy and Glasgow, where Celtic is based, and Scotland itself, I suppose, and around the world, and how Italian football and Celtic could perhaps have partners around the world to promote the beautiful game across Asia and Africa, and around the world. I suppose I was going to say Latin America, but I suppose that is already quite saturated market, and another big word for me. Also on that note, though, areas where perhaps football is not very popular, like encouraging football amongst, or soccer for any Americans out there, Native Americans and Indigenous Australians. And again, I know I mentioned this a while back, but AC Milan, as they play in black and red, I think it'd be cool if they were the first to have like academies and sports clubs amongst Native Americans and like support them to get into football, soccer or calcio or whatever you want to call it, and also turn the term red, as in red Indians or whatever, into a positive perhaps, and maybe listen to Native Americans. I know they don't always like that term, but symbolically they could be like turning a negative into a positive, which is a lot of what how can I put it? Is a lot of what I try and do. Basically, I'm trying to say in better English. But also they can invest in their education, like help them in STEM and things like that, and also for Indigenous Australasian communities, as it's black and red, and maybe other Italian teams like Juventus or Inter Milan could do similar as well. I'd love for Juventus to work on equality, anti-discrimination, and things like that. But anyway, that's probably I'll talk about that probably another day. Number 32. So around Christmas, as soon as I'd love for that to happen on Christmas Day itself, because it's like due to patterns again, like Milan Mondays and things like that. But as close to Christmas as possible, basically, and similar as say with Italian teams generally to acquire as much investment and sponsorship as possible, and hopefully to develop to become as close to world class as possible. Number 33, promoting libertarianism. Number 34, once again, I'd love for I'd say companies to be encouraged to invest in Italian football and stroke or Celtic instead of wars and the weapons trade and things like that, and hopefully the markets will reward them well for doing so. So I'd love to encourage people to buy from companies that invest in Italian football and Celtic instead of wars and the weapons trade. But I wanted to ask the question. I think I forgot to ask that. I keep forgetting to ask that in the in like a poll. But I hope people out there will hear this message and this question and answer it as best as possible. I wonder whether you think I'm being naive, and would you, if there was a company like, say, BlackRock I mentioned before, or if Apple, let's say, was investing in things to do with technology, to do with wars, whether that's for Israel or any other nation, would you be prepared to say, if you don't do that and instead invest in football or soccer, which is a more peaceful pledge? I think it would be quite an irony if it was Italian football, given the history of the Roman Empire, but hopefully in the future Italians will be against empire as well. I think that'd be pretty cool. They'd be into football instead and develop that passion for making Italian football great. So to make Italian football great again. So I'd love to know again whether people think I'm being naive, and whether it would be something you would do yourself. Like, would you buy from a company that invested in an Italian team, Enstrik or Celtic, or maybe your own team? Or I suppose you'd probably prefer it to be your own team if you're, let's say, an Aston Villa fan or a West Ham fan or whatever, or United fan or City fan or whatever. Yeah, I'd love to know what you think. Maybe even if you don't like, say, Italian football or Celtic, if they did so, would you think that's a better thing than investing in wars that are hurting so many people? Again, I'd love to know what you think. I want to be as neutral as possible, because I don't believe in selling weapons to any nations, including, let's say, Hamas or to that group either. So it's not against Israel, it's against like weapons per se, because they can be used for nefarious means and the worst sort of things. But that's my opinion anyway. I'd love to know what you think. I don't feel comfortable eating chocolate and talking at the same time, so I'm going to save that till after, those things till after. Number 35. I'm struggling to think of any other points, but yeah, hopefully I'll be more clear on that note on my visions and goals and things like world peace would be one of them, I suppose. A Christmas truce, I suppose, would be great if like countries agreed at least for Christmas Day, and then maybe if they saw how good it is to have peace, maybe even though people say like Christmas is pagan and many Christians are against it and other groups might be against it, maybe it could be used for a very positive thing. And I think a lot of people say like with Christmas, a lot of accidents go up, crimes go up, and things like that. So they say it's a bad sort of time of year, really. But others might call them killjoys or whatever. But I think it's a good excuse to have fun, and I hope people stay safe and healthy, which is another dream of mine. Which shows I'm not that selfish after all. But on a serious note, what if there was a truce for Christmas, and then people said, "Oh, this is working really well," and we feel much more better and at peace, and we can appreciate what we have rather than trying to fight to get more and then risking getting injured and killed and that kind of thing. So again, maybe I'm being naive. I'd love to know what you think about each of these ideas. Number 36, I would love for around the Christmas time, and I suppose I'm trying to put it out there and hope to appeal to any goodness amongst companies to show they do have a heart. And I suppose some people might say, why would they care about your dreams, but specifically? But I suppose I did take time to make videos on such. But if I'm really dreaming, and again, these might be pipe dreams, I would love for Italian teams generally to be co-owned by companies that have the same, and companies and investors which have the same initial. So as I said, Apple to be AC Milan to be co-owned by companies that begin with A, Inter Milan by companies and investors that begin with I, Monza by ones that begin with M, Roma by ones that begin with R, and so on and so forth. Like Hellas Verona could be co-owned by Honda, Hyundai, and other companies that begin with H, and that kind of thing. And as many of them as possible around the world. If I'm really dreaming, I would love for all possible investors to invest in Italian football, and preferably all of them. And also, again, I'm probably having pipe dreams, but I thought I'd put it out there anyway, just on the off chance it might happen. So let's say on Friday the 29th, which I mentioned before, is exactly 4 months since my birthday. Unfortunately, I turned 41, which I was great about. Getting too old, but past a midlife crisis now. It's an old age crisis, I think. But for Fiorentina to be co-owned by companies that begin with F, and Frosinone also, perhaps some of those companies as well, like I mentioned about France, and that kind of thing. So if not on Christmas, hopefully before the new year, then I'd love for Italian teams to bring in the best possible players, coaches, coaching staff, managers, scouts, and whatever else it takes to build the best possible teams, physios, as say coaches and trainers, I suppose, and dietitians, I suppose, and things like that, fitness experts and whatever that can help directors of football, perhaps even, or as I say, whatever it takes to make great teams, like learning from Real Madrid, Barcelona, and teams like that, like what they've done to achieve such great success. A lot of Spanish teams. I'd love to see Italian teams play like Spanish teams, to be honest. I think they do play, if I'm honest, the most attractive football. So I'd love to see Italian football becoming more attractive, entertaining, and that kind of thing. And hopefully, most importantly, in my opinion, winning trophies, which is a point I meant to say actually earlier. I think that was a point I meant to say in 32 or 33 was like winning trophies. So I suppose not necessarily on Christmas Day itself or by Christmas Day. Some of these would be dreams I would wish to have before the new year, but using Christmas as a sort of Christmas wish list to hopefully these things happen. And I think it'd be interesting to see like if Pep Guardiola came to Italian football, to Serie A, with an Ange Postecoglou, as I mentioned before again, could they change the culture? And if I could, I'd try and convince Pep Guardiola, maybe if Italian football did get that investment and they can make him some good offers, an offer he can't refuse. I'm just kidding. That was a mafia reference, but that was just a joke. But on a serious note, like if there was enough money there, or even like they could give him the freedom of the city or freedom of the country or stuff like that, and like give him free food wherever he goes, because he mentioned loving Italian food and stuff like that. And he could become a hero that helped to transform Italian football. And another thing on that note, like Pep Guardiola has managed in Spain, his native Spain, Germany and England. So the only other top league I would say that he hasn't managed in is Italy. So please come to Italy, Pep, if you ever watch these videos. I might be so lucky. But yeah, those would be my dreams. As a fan of Italian football, I'd be happy for him to come to any Italian team. I think it'd be interesting if he came to Roma. That would be an interesting story if he replaced Mourinho, because they have a bit of a rivalry, and he helped them to do even better. Sorry, Mourinho. But yeah, that would be pretty interesting. Number 37. I had quite a few different ideas on that, but I thought, again, the video went a bit too long compared to how I planned for it to go. I would love to see Celtic get the best possible players, coaches and managers. A bit of a dilemma, because part of me wants them to go to Italian football and part of me wants them to go to Celtic. But I thought, what if just before they became too old, they went to Celtic? So like if a lot of great young players played in Italy, the best possible young players as well, and players of all ages really. But if Italy had the best mix of young and old players, the best possible players that they could get to make Italian football as successful as possible and as good as possible at club and country level. But before they got too old, they went to help Celtic. So I'd love for, another point I was going to make was like Celtic, Italian football to win in Europe and internationally, and Celtic to win domestically. So that would be pretty cool. Number 38. I hope also, on the subject of like general Christmas wish lists, well, I suppose it's still related to football, I would love to see how Italian football and Celtic could work together, if they could build a partnership and sort of learn from each other, share ideas and things like that, and just generally have a partnership. So Italians could have Celtic as their second favourite team, vice versa, things like that. Again, what they could look at, what they can learn from each other, and that kind of thing, and practice and train together, especially at youth level, for the future. Number 39. So yeah, hopefully I'd be happy and contented with those sorts of things, and appreciate a lot of those things if they happen, and not be too unappreciative of them. Each one, if any of them do happen, I should be appreciative of, and probably not look so much at what I don't have. Again, like things we take for granted, like our health, family, friends, faith, or whatever, and that kind of thing. Some people might disagree with the last one, but and also I'd love to see snow. It's another point I was going to mention. I think there's a few I was going to say, but I forgot, or worried about the videos being too long. And on that note, number 40, there were a few things I was going to say, a few confessions, but I thought I better not. And again, the video is probably dragged on a bit too long, as I say, almost certainly in fact. But I hope you enjoyed it, waffling and all that kind of thing. And I'm going to wrap it up and wish you a good night. And I'm out. Peace and love.